think about in terms of forgiving God. That you're divorced, your health is not good, do not have good relationship with your parents or your parents with you, that you've gone through all kinds of problems and difficulties, people don't like you. Forgive God for the fact that you're a Christian and people persecute you as a result of that. Forgive God that you're a woman, your gender, or a male, whatever it might be. Forgive God for that. Forgive God for sin in your life. You know, God, if you'd done your part, I wouldn't have sinned. I wouldn't be a sinner if you just did your part. God, we could go on with a whole list of things. God, thank you. I need to forgive you for the loss of loved ones. That you would allow this to happen. That you would take away my child, or you would take away a spouse. You would do these things. God, I'm thinking about forgiving you. Now, when we look at that, we think, and another thing I want to add there because it's so common, God, I'm trying to forgive you for being unfair. It's been really unfair because I'm an African American in a white America for so many years, and I have been mistreated. I'm not an Israelite. I'm a Gentile. And it's just obvious that I'm a Gentile. Now, I know there are Israelites that act like Gentiles and all of that, but just that mere fact, I'm having problems. Oh, by the way, God, I also don't like, and I'm not sure I can forgive you for forgiving people that I can't forgive. And they're getting away with stuff. I'm not sure I can do that. So, the context of what I want us to see and understand actually doesn't begin in Ezekiel, but it's a starting point for us today in Ezekiel chapter 18 and verse 25, where we find that the nation of Israel had a problem with God. And Ezekiel is telling them, this is what the problem that you're talking about. This is what you're saying about God. Yet you say, verse 25, the way of the Lord is not just. Now, another way of putting that is you're accusing God. And if you accuse God of something, then you either have to forgive Him or you have to deal with it in one manner, shape, form, or other. You've got to do something with it. And He says, hear, O house of Israel, is my way unjust? Is it not your ways that are unjust? So God then is, through Ezekiel, calling them into question. Now, we recognize, I think, that the whole nation of Israel. Now, who are the whole nation of Israel? They're God's chosen people that are disagreeing with Him. I would suggest there are a lot of Christians today that disagree with God and how things are done. Well, Lord, you should save this person and not that person, and we disagree. So I'm not saying it's uncommon for Christians to disagree as well as Israel to disagree and believe that we're right in our sight. People, and I believe a majority, if not all, have a problem with God. So what's your problem with God? Do you have a problem? If so, what? And if you don't think you do, well then I'm suggesting that you actually do have a problem with God. That you just really don't fully understand. Lord, if you'd have kept me from doing that, I really didn't want to do that, but if you just stop me, restrain me, you give people free moral agency, you give them choice, I'm having a problem with that. Problems they consider to be God's fault. Now, this is not uncommon, and so what we find in the book of Genesis, for example, the problem of knowledge, not having the knowledge of both good and evil, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, was God's problem. Because of what? Because, God doesn't want you to be like Him. God doesn't want you to know these things, because in the day that you know these things, then you're going to be able to see and understand. And there's so much of that happens in our lives. We want to know things and we get ourselves in trouble. So humanity accuses God of being unfair. Now, all parents have dealt with kids who say, that's not fair. Say, we're not going to the fair. We're not going to that carnival at all. We're not getting on that. No, they think it's unfair. Also, humanity has a problem, and this is interesting. Humanity has a problem with God being God. They don't like that God is God. Now, it is shown in several ways. For example, that there's one and only one God. Now, we read in the Bible, and we have a belief that there is only one God. The triune God, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. We believe that. We also believe, and the world has a problem with worshiping God. I'll worship God the way I want to worship God. That's how I'll do it. And I'll worship the God of my choice. You know, what's wrong with me doing that? And, of course, in the Old Testament, we see all kinds of examples of people doing that. And people also kind of tend to think in terms of God, who does He think He is? Has He not considered us? This is, again, part of the not being fair. Now, there is an absurdity for forgiving God for being God. I mean, it just flies in the face of everything that we know and understand, but it's kind of like entering the back door for us to help to see and to understand. So you think, God, I need to forgive you because you've done things that I don't like. And it's absolutely absurd. Now, atheists dismiss God. There it is. There is no God. But not only do they dismiss God, they diss God. That no, there is no such thing. He is this. He's mean. He's all of these things. He treats people in a way. With that as well, in terms of atheism and the dismissal of that, they also dismiss His Son. Now, when you think about dismissing His Son, our understanding of who Jesus is, that He is God in the flesh. And by the way, we're going to take a look at the fact that people have a real problem forgiving Jesus for things that He did, how He did things. And they minimize and they dethrone them by, their peers. That is, these are peers of Jesus. These are equals with Jesus. And who does Jesus think that He is? That He's the one and only prophet. He is the Son of God. What about Buddha? What about Muhammad? What about these other people, self-proclaimed prophets? Who do they think they are? Who does Jesus think that He is? I was watching an interview this past week and only got portions of it, so my report may not be totally accurate, but I think I've got the essence of it. It's a new book out entitled Relax. It is just God. So it's dealing with, as I understand, how to teach your children and how not to indoctrinate your children in terms of God. It's written by a lady who states that she's an atheist, that she doesn't believe in God, and that how that it takes away all this bigotry that we have, and how that we bring everybody kind of onto a level playing field and the like. And so, relax. No big deal. It's just God. Now, we just heard the Lord's Prayer. It starts off, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Interesting enough, about 2 nights later, I'm watching PBS, and they have 4 tenors on, and they're singing the song, How Great Thou Art. It is absolutely awe-inspiring the way that they performed this song.
Feeling the blues today, or tired of life already? Do you have questions about life, or need spiritual advice? The Worldwide Church of God is located in Fairfield, Santa Rosa, and Modesto, California. We welcome everyone to attend our worship services with us every week at the times listed on your screen.